Welcome everyone to the FST 10102 Introduction to Agriculture. So now you are in Model 3B. So in Model 3, Development Stage in Agriculture. So for the Model 3B, we're going to learn about evolution of agriculture activities from the different phase to different space. Okay, so the topic learning outcomes. At the end of the class, students are able to define and describe the activity of each stage in agriculture. Okay, the activity of each stage in agriculture are different from the Paleolithic, from the Mesolithic and then Neolithic. Or they have a different stages of the activity. Okay, as you know that for the previous model, we already talked about Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. And now let's look at the difference between them. Okay, for during the Paleolithic time, they basically use the big stone to do or to create or to make a fire, to hunting animals. So basically they use a big tools. And when it comes to the Mesolithic phase, they try to do some implementations like breaks the big stone into the small stone, so that it's become very sharp for the hunting. It's a good for the hunting, and also for the make it fire is also easy. And when the next is a Neolithic tools, they try to innovate or try to do a better tools compared to the Mesolithic, and then they have a better shape for the use as a tools in hunting, in agriculture purpose. Okay, for the Stone Age period, a Paleolithic period, which actually human exists by foraging, means here foragings, they try to collect food source from the surrounding them. For example, they have wild berries, they have grains, they have fruits over the surroundings, so they just grab during that time. So they also hunting animal, do some fishing, and do gathering wild berries, roots, seed, and also grains for eat. So number of people restricted by food available in the area. So means here the foods are restricted because they just only get the available source from the surroundings. And during the Neolithic period, people are control their own food by supplying by cultivating plant and breeding animals. So when from they shift to the phase Neolithic, the food is available because they try to cultivate their own, and also they breed the animals by their own as well. So during the Paleolithic revolutions, Paleolithic era also means as an old Stone Age, the Paleolithic begin 2 million years ago. So during that time, they use a big stone for doing anything. Okay. So Homo sapiens during this period are nomads. Nomads means they shift from one location to another location for get the food source. The first to make simple tools and weapons means here they use a big stone, make a cave art. So means here they live in the cave. So they use stone to do some drawing or painting. So master use of the fire. So means here they use the stone. They scratch both of the stones to create fire. So they also try to develop language during that time and also live in the clans. So this is the phase of agricultural revolutions. Before this, they use animals and implements, and a tractor with combine harvester. Okay, for the ancient history, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, and then for this one is also a Paleolithic. you can see the activity here. They use the big stone for making a fire. They also live basically during the area the river and also at cave. They also start to hunting animals. And for the Mesolithic, they try to the shift from living in the cave. They try to build their own shelter. And during the Neolithic, they start to rear animals. They hunting animals, and then they try to rearing, and then they get they get the food from the animals meat. And also they use animal for their helping in activity in agriculture. So let's look at the difference phase for the era. Okay, for the art and craft during the Paleolithic era, they are painted cave walls and basically usually painted animal. And for the Mesolithic era, they start to do their own pottery and cave painting. Then for the Neolithic, they make pottery, carve objects from the woods, and build shelter and tombs. Means here, in this Neolithic era, they start to do some innovation. And the different from the obtaining food, during the Paleolithic era, they hunted animals. So they hunted animals using the big stone. So they also gathered or forage, gathered nuts, berries, grains, and also food that they can eat during that time. So they just get from the surrounding. For the Mesolithic, they start to hunt animals, gather the plant, and they store food for the later use. So means here, the innovation here, they start to store for the later use. And start to the Neolithic era, they start to begin farmings, and they start to have their own permanent village, and they try to raise livestock. So let's look at for the adaptation to the surrounding. For the Paleolithic, they start to learn make a fire, to develop language, to move for a shelter, and settle village located near river and lakes, and also use bow and arrow, and also began taming animals. So for the Neolithic era, they start to build their own shelter and start to have their own shelter to live, start to cultivate crops, start to do some activities in agriculture, and start to rearing animals. Okay, so the major change in Neolithic period is possible to feed more people than yourself. Okay, when we look at for the Paleolithic era, so they just get the food for their own consumption. But now for the Neolithic, they can feed more people because they already plant or cultivate the crops, and they already start to rearing animals. So this all allows for population to increase. So this also lead to the communities and to cities to advance civilizations. Without agriculture, advanced civilization would not be possible. Okay, so why did people switch to agriculture after thousands of years of origins? So here you can say that for the first human before this, they start to foraging. So they just take everything or food source from the surrounding, and then they just eat. And now they start to shift to agriculture because agriculture can provide food. Agriculture can provide um, food for energy, for the nutrition, like that. So why? Because the first one, legends among different groups. So they have a different legends from the among groups. So number two, many theories focus on a wise person or billion age. So if you sow seed, your plant will grow. So means here, if they plant, if let's say if they just foraging, the food source will be limited, will be not last forever. But if you grow, they will become growing, and then it's become expand and develop well, so that you can take it and it can be a it can be sustainable. Okay, the third one is dump heap, which is discard seed at dump site, and also good for the manure and fertilizer. And premature burial food with the date. So meaning based on the cultivations, the waste from the cultivation, they can be replanted again to the soil to give the to become soil fertile. And that's it for the module 3B. So see you in the next module.